Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have a new episode of the Second Take Podcast. I know you guys have been waiting on this one for a long time as we haven't posted in a few weeks. Just got a little bit busy, sidetracked, a little bit of procrastinating, and we didn't. So we just missed a couple episodes. All good though. We're here now, here to give you a great conference championship prediction week. This was our most popular episode of all time last year. We're hoping to beat that again this year. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with a quick recap of things we missed, and then we'll move on to the very exciting conference championship in which the Detroit Lions are playing in for the first time in basically forever. So Marco, let's get started off with Michigan winning the national championship. Quick brief.
Yes, we're going to go over a few things that we missed. First thing, Michigan won the national championship. I imagine every person listening knows Michigan won. It means a lot for the program. Huge win. First win since 1997. Great for Harbaugh and the rest of this team. But I mean, it's hard to really get into it considering the fact that the game took place nearly, 3 weeks ago. So, you definitely know what happened. Michigan won the Natty. Next up, Saban retires. The board at Bama. Jed Fish, the Arizona coach, to Washington. Bama players are leaving. Saban, I was not expecting this. I heard a lot of people saying he's not going anywhere anytime soon, but I think just NCAA, NIL kind of started getting to him. Just getting a bit tired of it, I assume, and he retires. So, yep, tough loss for Bama.
Yeah, for me, like you said, he's just tired of it. I don't think he likes this era of college football as much as, it's not the good old days anymore. It's a very different game, and I think he was just done with it, like you said. Next up, like you said, Bama players moving to Ohio State and Texas. Lots of big moves. Ohio State is spending a lot of money trying to pull in a lot of players. Their secondary is looking absolutely stacked for next year. They brought in a couple quarterbacks, one former 5-star, and also what's the guy from Kansas State again, right?
Oh, Will Howard.
Will Howard. And then a bunch of guys from Alabama that they brought in the secondary as well. Marco?
Yeah, they're all. So they brought in Will Howard, Julian Sands, saying the 5-star prospect of this next year. He has not played a snap of college football, but he's the highest rated quarterback for this upcoming class. They get Caleb Downs, best safety in the country, in my opinion, from Bama. He will be a sophomore next year, so 2 years of eligibility. They get Quinshon Judkins. In my opinion, he will be the best running back in college football next year. Absolute beast. And they retain Travion Henderson. That's a scary backfield. They get Seth McLaughlin, the Bama center. Wouldn't consider that to be a great pickup, although he'll probably play guard there. But they also retain guys like Emeka Egbuka, lots of guys on the defensive end, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, what are they going to say? Denzel Burke, just retaining everyone. I've seen reports saying they've spent up to $20 million. Ryan Day is getting desperate after Michigan beat him 3 times in a row, and now he's just absolutely breaking the bank. But maybe it'll actually get them to win something for the first time in his career.
Yeah, for sure. If you need to spend as much money as you want to win a game, so be it. Next up, Jim Harbaugh, after winning the national championship, moves on to the NFL and gets hired by the Chargers. For me, definitely a little distraught. Not really, though, because we have a great guy in Sharon Moore coming in. I'm almost more sad that he's going to take Jesse Minter with him. And so I actually came across an interesting question earlier, Marco. Did Harbaugh leave the program better than he came to it with? Because for me, he came to the program, there was a decent amount of NFL talent on his roster. He obviously did well. He got the national championship. Is that national championship worth it to you the way he's leaving the program? Investigations incoming. He's gutting the roster. Just what do you think about that?
Well, considering how our 2014 season went.
Sorry. Gutting the coaching staff, not the roster.
Considering how the 2014 season went, it was the year before he got there, I believe we went 6-7. I wouldn't consider that to be good. For a few years, he did okay, nothing really special. 2016 could have been something special. But yeah, these last few years, I mean, I do think he left the program in a better spot. The thing is, if you told me in 2014, like we'd be having like well, I mean, obviously the national championship he got, but like this roster is, in my opinion, the one we will have next year better than the one we had coming into 2015. Obviously, we had some talent coming in that 2015, but I mean, we're still retaining guys like Rod Moore, Donovan Edwards. He's mentored Sharon Moore. I think Sharon Moore is going to be a great coach for us. I mean, getting a defensive coordinator, ideally we get another guy from the Ravens to just keep running that scheme, or Jesse Miller can just teach someone in a couple months before he leaves or something. But overall, I mean, the program is definitely in a much better place than it was after that awful 2014 season with Brady Hoke.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Like, that national championship is great. But then again, like, you can't deny that team that Harbaugh got when he got here had talent. Like, no matter how the season previous went, that team definitely had talent. And the way Harbaugh is leaving this team, despite us winning a national championship last year, our recruiting's not in a good spot right now. We're kind of relying on the transfer portal. He's taking away our defensive coordinator. I don't think that's a good way to pass on the program to the next. Do you?
I mean, he didn't really recruit very well for this upcoming class, anyways. So I mean, that's partly it's on him. But also, I mean, the 2015. I mean, it didn't really have talent before him. I mean, he was able to recruit guys like Jabril Peppers. It did have quite a bit of talent, obviously, with guys like Amari Darbo and J.U. Chesson. But, I mean, most of those guys he was recruiting, Jordan Lewis, and he ended up getting that talent for that 2016 year. So I just think overall there's more talent on this roster than there was in between 2014, 2015 before he started recruiting, sort of. Like, that's like comparing the 2014 team roster to this team's roster. And I think this upcoming year is, in my opinion, a significantly better roster.
Yeah, I mean, but he did walk into that team with Jabril Peppers, Devin Funchess, Jordan Lewis. I mean, it's not like there wasn't any talent on that team at all.
No, I'm saying he recruited. I mean, Devin Funchess, I believe, left after. Actually, I think he left in 2014, but he recruited Jabril Peppers, and he recruited guys like Jordan Lewis, guys like J.U. Chesson.
No, Jordan Lewis was a sophomore.
Nah, but I mean, he still recruited guys like he recruited most of the talent. Like, there's a 2014. Obviously, Brady Hoke's not a good coach, but like there still was significantly more talent on that 2015 team, and right now we have significantly more talent than that.
All right, moving on. Let's get into the college basketball update. I'll start off with Michigan. I mean, we are terrible. At the start of the season, I was like, okay, Juwan didn't have a good season last year. He still won National Coach of the Year his first year. I mean, I know he inherited a phenomenal program, but maybe he gets this year and next year, and if nothing happens, you fire him. After what has happened this season, after the lack of passion that I'm seeing on this team, I honestly think he has to be gone. Like, there is no other solution. Like Nick Stauskas said in an Instagram comment recently, it is embarrassing to watch these guys put on a Michigan jersey. And although, like, I've never done that, obviously, guys like him, they're just saying, like, it means something to put on that jersey. Guys like Trey Burke, Nick Stauskas, Spike Allbrook, Tim Hardaway, they all love that team. So the way that our program is playing right now is just sad. Like, it's not even about the record. It's just when we go out there on that court, it's depressing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, program is not in a good state. I think it's absolutely no question Juwan has to go. At this point, I mean, yeah, you got 1 5-star for the upcoming class. I forgot his name, but I mean, he's still not recruiting that well. Like, this past class, he didn't recruit that well, and he's clearly not a good in-game coach. We've seen several cases. He calls a timeout. We have like 20 seconds left. Calls an awful play. We end up losing the game. That's happened roughly 20 times in the last 2 years, which is absolutely absurd. And yeah, I mean, the man is just clearly not a great motivator, as these kids currently on the team clearly do not really want to play right now, or maybe they just aren't good at basketball. But I mean, guys like Doug McDaniel, obviously he can't play road games, but I mean, he's still a very talented player, and he just, like, I just feel like Jawan doesn't really have the team in the right spot from a talent standpoint, from a mentality standpoint, and pretty much from every standpoint. Therefore, he has to be fired.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan basketball under Beeline, you recruit 3 stars, you build them up for 3 years, and then by the time they're seniors, they're great basketball players. They can shoot and they play hard defense. Right now, we're just grabbing guys out of the transfer portal and praying that they gel together. Like, that's just not our style. That's not Michigan basketball. So something definitely needs to change. Moving on, UConn taking no steps back from last year, continues to dominate. Marco, what do you have on that?
Yeah, UConn, they've lost quite a few guys, but they just continue to be, or in my opinion, the most dominant team in college basketball right now. Purdue's up there with them, but just they have lots of veteran leadership. This is just a team that's not going to have a bad game very often, which is something you really need in March. I see them making another deep run, similar to that national championship last year.
Yeah, I mean, we knew they were bringing some guys back, but I mean, they continue to dominate like we saw in that tournament run last year. Moving on, number 5 Tennessee, number 6 Kentucky, and number 8 Auburn, all dominating the top of the ranks and the SEC. All have shown that they can play with pretty much anyone in the country. Yeah, I don't have much more. The SEC is looking very dominant as a basketball conference lately. Marco?
Yeah, well, I will say outside those 3 teams, the SEC is not looking great, but those 3 teams definitely look like each of them can make the road run. Tennessee, best defensive team in the country, also starting to play some better offense right now. But yeah, all 3 of those teams really playing some solid basketball, and the SEC tournament is going to be pretty fun to watch this year.
Yep, certainly is. Let's move on to our NFL divisional round recap. Just quickly go over it. And then, and then we'll get into our conference championship game predictions. So let's start off with the Detroit Lions winning against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Marco, what did you see in that game?
Just really good performance out of the Lions. Buccaneers able to keep it close for most of it. But that Detroit offense really started to get clicking. And Tampa Bay, I thought their defense would have a significantly better performance than that. They handled them pretty well in the first half, but in the second half, really didn't have an answer for Jared Goff or really that run game for the vast majority. Lions secondary continues to look pretty iffy. Mayfield throws for 350 yards, but able to make some big plays, which is what they've done all year with those 2 picks. And yeah, very excited to see what the Lions can do this upcoming week.
Yeah, like you said, offensively much more dominant than I thought it was going to be. Definitely thought this was going to be a defensive battle, just the way the Buccaneers are built. They're definitely a very solid defensive team, and I definitely did not think we would be able to run the ball as much as we were able to. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs both just showed flashes of being phenomenal like they have all season. And like you said with that secondary, definitely worry about it for that conference championship game, just because the 49ers have a lot of weapons that they can punish you with. And even though Brock Purdy is, I don't know, he's solid, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's as mediocre as most people say, but I mean, the amount of weapons they have, we're definitely going to need to play some softer coverage and just try to limit them in general, but we'll get to that later. Moving on, 49ers beat the Packers. Really should not have won this game at all. Like, this was the Packers game for pretty much 3 3/4 quarters, and they somehow fumbled it away. A couple really bad plays down the stretch leads to the 49ers getting the win here. Marco?
Oh, yeah. Andrews Carlson's missed field goal, obviously key. Jordan Love, really not a great performance. Obviously, the last pick, he's just trying to make a play. Definitely not a good decision. He probably should have thrown it away. But, I mean, I can definitely see, his mentality was just try to make a play in that situation. But, I mean, the run game was really clicking all day. Obviously, on that last drive, you couldn't. But on some of the drives before, I would have liked to see a little bit more run and less pass. And Brock Purdy, without Deebo Samuel, he still has elite weapons. but you really only have one good receiver in Brandon Ayuk without Debo, and then a really good tight end in Kittle. Obviously, those are still weapons better than most NFL teams, but it's not like that's a crazy amount of weapons. I mean, obviously his stats not great, but I would still say this is a very impressive performance out of Brock Purdy. That drive there late, very gutsy. And this honestly, I was considering him an above average quarterback, but not really MVP contender. Still not considering him an MVP contender after that, but he definitely improved his stock in my mind in terms of like where he is on a quarterback chart throughout the NFL.
Yeah, I agreed. 100% should not be an MVP contender, but people saying that you could put any starting quarterback in that position with those players and they would automatically be great is just simply not true. I mean, Brock Purdy gels super well with that team, and even though he's not phenomenal, he 100% gets the job done. Moving on. Ravens beat the Texans. Ravens beat the Texans in a very dominant performance. No doubt left in anyone's mind that the Ravens are the team to beat at the moment. Lamar Jackson continues to get it done on the ground. 2 touchdowns on the ground, 100 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns in the air. Only 152 passing yards, but I mean, you don't need to throw for that much if you're rushing for 100. So Lamar Jackson continues to impress, and the Ravens defense just absolutely dominant in this one. Marco.
Yeah, Ravens. Texans did a very good job to keep it close early, but in my opinion, the Ravens are the best defense in the NFL. Better than the 49ers in my eyes. They just suffocating CJ Stroud in that offense. Absolutely no run game whatsoever this game for them. Nico Collins had a good game, but CJ Stroud just couldn't get it going enough. They also had a missed kick, which was a bit defeating considering that would have given them the lead at one point. But Lamar just too dominant with his legs. In my opinion, this is a Super Bowl for the Ravens to lose at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to the final game, the Chiefs beat the Bills in a very fun game. This one was close all the way to the end. Chiefs get it done 27-24. It was, I mean, the Bills had a chance to tie it at the end. Wide right kick. Very disappointing for them, but I think the thing I was most impressed in this game for the Bills was Josh Allen on the ground. I mean, his ability to get it done on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 72 yards, was definitely the reason this game was close, and his ability to avoid turnovers. He definitely made some huge strides toward the end of the season in terms of keeping the ball in his own team's hands. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs just ended up getting that win there. They just have that playoffs gene that they know how to win in the playoffs. They know how to win when it matters. So Chiefs 27-24 advance to the conference championship. Marco.
Honestly, this was like a game where Josh Allen just didn't have much help. Stephon Diggs has been really a below average receiver recently, including this game. He just has been nowhere to be found, getting locked up, or, I mean, obviously that drop, it was a tough catch, but you got to be able to make that catch as your team's franchise wide receiver, and not Allen really doing whatever he can to keep his team in the game, but not really getting helped by anyone, special teams. I mean, not sure why you faked that punt to DeMar Hamlin. And then obviously the Tyler Bass miss. But, I mean, Josh Allen, you could really tell he wanted this game more than anything, but there's not much help around him. And Mahomes, Kelsey finally comes to play, and Mahomes gets it done. Good win for the Chiefs, but I still think that the Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC.
Yep, and then moving on to our final segment, conference championship game predictions. We're going to do the Lions game second. Let's start it off with the Chiefs at the Ravens. So, like we said, Ravens are the team to beat in this entire playoffs. Ravens are the Super Bowl favorite, 100%. That being said, like we just mentioned, Chiefs do have that winning playoff gene, and despite Travis Kelce being absent in the past few games, once again, like you said, he was able to show up and make plays when it mattered, and if he's able to do that again, this game's going to be much closer than Ravens fans want it to be. But if the Ravens defense plays like it has been, and like it did last week against a high-powered Texans offense, led by CJ Stroud, who's been phenomenal all season, Chiefs aren't going to be able to do anything. They don't have enough weapons to be able to attack that Ravens secondary. So it's really going to come down to if some Chiefs wide receivers can step up, stretch that secondary out, and allow Travis Kelce to make some plays. Marco?
Yeah, I just feel like this Ravens defense is going to be too good for Mahomes to be able to. I mean, obviously he'll be able to make a few plays, but guys like Roquan Smith, in my opinion, the best linebacker in the NFL right now, really going to make it tough for Mahomes to get out of the pocket. Just overall, this defense is absurd. Coached by Mike McDonald, former Michigan defensive coordinator. But yeah, these Ravens, they're just very physical. I don't think Chiefs really match up physic- physicality wise with them. I think Lamar is going to have a lot of QB runs in this game. And I just don't think – I think this Chiefs defense is great, definitely the best defense Mahomes has had yet. But I just don't think that they're really ready for Lamar. We've seen plenty of great defenses just get absolutely embarrassed by this team. San Francisco, considered to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Lamar made them look awful, putting up 33 points on them. You just can't really defend these Ravens, in my opinion, unless Lamar is a bad game passing or the Chiefs just have some incredible scheme. So I'm going to have the Ravens in this game. I think Chiefs keep it close for 3 quarters, but Ravens pull away late.
Yeah, I mean, if the Ravens play well, no team is beating them. But, I mean, they do have 4 losses, so they definitely have some dud weeks like every team does. And you're not going to play your best every week. So Chiefs definitely have a chance in this one. And then finally, the Lions at the 49ers. Mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it's really going to come down to if the Lions can move the ball on the ground against this 49ers defense, and if the Lions secondary can limit these 49ers wide receivers and Christian McCaffrey, most importantly. So, Marco, what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I'm rooting for the Lions in this game. I don't root for them any week in these playoffs. They're definitely my favorite team out of the playoffs. I really want to root for the Lions. It's definitely going to be a physical on a San Francisco defense that is definitely, in my opinion, worse in the run game than the secondary. Though they are pretty susceptible in the secondary as well at times. But it really comes down to can Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery get going under this Detroit Lions offensive scheme, and can Jared Goff hold on to the ball? In the games they lose, Jared Goff has like a pick 6 or something like that. That game against the Packers earlier this year. There was another game I remember where he threw a pick 6 and they lost. So he's really going to have to be good with the ball, which he has been so far in the playoffs, and that has led to their success. But if he can be clean with the ball and they can run the ball with success, I'm going to take the Lions. But I just feel like these Niners, especially if Devo plays, he's back at practice, I think they just have too many weapons. A Lions secondary that, in my opinion, is not very good, although they do have a pretty good run defense, and Aiden Hutchinson's a great edge rusher. I just feel like they can't handle all these weapons. So I'm going to take the 49ers. If Debo's back, if he's not, I'm really 50-50. I'll probably lean Lions if he isn't. But as of right now, it seems like he'll be back. So I'm going to take the 49ers.
Yeah, as a Lions fan, I know you want to play the 49ers at their best, but seeing Debo listed as questionable and returning to practice is definitely not what you want to see for your winning chances. He is just going to be a huge game wrecker if he does, but also, recently I've not liked the Lions' strategy with putting Cam Sutton on the other team's wide receiver 1. He just gets absolutely fried every single game. And, I mean, I feel like we have better cover corners. Like, I feel like Ifeatu Melifonwu would definitely keep up with those better receivers a little bit better. I know he's a smaller guy, but Cam Sutton just gets toasted every game, so at some point you got to go zone or switch it up because we cannot give up huge plays to this high-powered 49ers offense if we want to have a chance at winning this game. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you all for listening to the Second Take Podcast. We will see you next week.